Hello everyone, welcome back to the Malbeefance channel. So here we are in the first official turn of the Strategic Command American Civil War series replay. If you did not watch the previous episode, don't worry about it. It's just me doing a lot of yammering about why I've made certain decisions that I've made in setting up for this game. Specifically the fact that I'm going to be playing the Union. Okay, so let me go ahead and let's just get the game rolling. And this will be the full campaign. We're going to start off. Here we are on the 164th anniversary of the American Civil War. And hopefully the computer can load this up quickly. Any other time it just zips right through. So, but now when I've got an audience watching it, naturally it's dragging its feet. So we'll get there someday. There we go. All right, so Confederates bombard Fort Sumter. This is what kicks it all off. So Fort Sumter was controlled by the federal government, and the South Carolina governor felt that they should leave the fort and turn it over to South Carolina. Obviously, the fort commander refused, and so there was a siege. Now, amazingly, nobody got hurt during this bombardment. But it was the, if you'll forgive the phrase, straw that broke the camel's back. And so now the fight is on. So now the computer moves first. It will be doing the Confederates' turn first. So Confederates celebrate the secession of Virginia. Virginia secedes to and joins the Confederacy. Originally, Virginia was going to stay neutral. The decision maker was when President Lincoln said that if necessary, he would use force to keep the Union together. Maryland General Assembly votes against secession. Historical event there. That was pretty much a given. Both the Confederates and the Union or Federalists, they believed that that was going to happen. Anti-war Democrat Confederate sympathizers riot in Baltimore. That is a historical event. The 6th Massachusetts militia was marching through the town, and they got attacked by Confederate secessionist supporters. And unfortunately, those were the first deaths in the war. President Lincoln issues a call for 75,000 volunteers. That riot in Baltimore, 4 militia and 12 rioters were killed, if I remember correctly. And they wound up being the first casualties of the war. So President Lincoln proclaims a blockade of the southern states. And now the computer is calculating supplies for the Union. Okay, our military activity summary. Okay, so now this is a note from the developers, letting you know, as I mentioned in the previous episode, national morale is now called fighting spirit, but the concept is the same. You have to knock fighting spirit down in order to get an opponent to withdraw from the war. Now, in Strategic Command World War I, you had to get them down to 0. Here in Strategic Command American Civil War, you got to get them below 10%. Okay, and so that's what they're talking about here. And then also saying that, hey, if you haven't read the strategy guide, please read the strategy guide. All right, so some more strategic advice, this specifically for the Union. Enlistment of tens of thousands of volunteers is unprecedented. To alleviate shortages in procuring supplies, basically what it's telling me is that they're going to be, production points are going to be getting spent for a while purchasing all the materials that I need. Instead of us producing it, we're buying it from somebody. So that's going to affect the amount of production I've got available. Okay, so now I got to make a decision. Okay. Now, I could get into the weeds on this one, but basically, what this all boils down to is Missouri, historically, the Missouri governor and his immediate second in commands, they were under the impression that the Missouri State Senate was going to vote to join the Confederacy, and they were quite shocked, as anybody who's reading the history will be quite shocked. What happened is the convention, not only did they fire the governor, but they fired the lieutenant governor and the state assembly, and they decided that they were going to join the Union. Okay, now. However, the governor of Missouri at the time, he decided that he was going to double down, and he refused the vote of the state convention. And so he was forced to flee to Arkansas after the Battle of Pea Ridge, which is where the historical Battle of Pea Ridge comes in. So what we got to do here is I got to decide, do I wish to have Union forces move into Missouri in order to defeat the Governor Jackson, his forces, which is basically just a few militia forces, or do I want to allow Missouri to be neutral? And no, I do not want to allow Missouri to be neutral. So I am going to order the formation of the Missouri Volunteers. Now, the negative effect that this has, uh, it it affects Kentucky's, excuse me, it affects Kentucky's decision whether they will remain neutral or whether they will join the Union. Okay, that's the pros and cons there. Okay, but yes, we are going to order forces into Missouri. And there you go. There's the fallout. Kentucky is concerned about Union violation of Missouri's neutrality. It drives down Kentucky's desire to join the federal forces. So there you go. Governor Jackson raises his pro-Confederate state guard. Unfortunately, it's going to be raining in Missouri for my turn, which is going to make advancing difficult. It doesn't always happen that way in the games that I've played, the playthroughs that I've had, but it looks like I'm starting off at a slightly greater disadvantage. Okay, so another decision here. Before the beginning of the rebellion, most of our small army was stationed in various forts across the Western Territories. These forts are being guarded against possible Indian attacks. Do I wish to abandon these forts and have those units available to use elsewhere, or do I want to stay in the forts? If I leave those units in the forts, they will not be able to move for some time. However, the pro is we'll have the forts. We'll be able to hang on to them. There'll be supply points for us. The con is that basically it drives the Indian tribes to go ahead and join the Confederacy, which they're going to do that anyway. If I pull the units out of there, I've got the units to use someplace else, but I've learned that the tribes, they just go over to the Confederacy that much faster. So, so no, we are not going to evacuate the forts. And so the garrison down here successfully repulses a Confederate militia at Fort Washita and Fort Gibson. Okay, so here's my first units to deploy into the game. These are brigade units. One of them I have to deploy here at Washington, D.C. And then simply because of my experience with the game, I'm going to go ahead and deploy all three of these brigades right here in the hopes that I can take advantage of the early start of the game where the Confederates do not have a lot of forces. Okay, so I've got a couple of units out on the map that I can work with. So there are riverboats right here. First thing I'm going to do is upgrade their engines. And then I've got this regiment all the way out here in Denver. And what I'm going to do to this poor guy, whoops, did not mean to do that, sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to force march him as far as I can down here to either Towels or Mora. There's no way I'm going to get him. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm going to try and get him. Damn it, move the map where I'm trying. Here we go. I'm going to try and get him down here to Fort Thorne, but I think the best I'm going to be able to do is Santa Barbara. Historically, the Confederacy sent a force out of Texas into the New Mexico territories. Excuse me. And they basically they had free reign. They ran all the way up. Um, they ran all the way up to Albuquerque. They were not stopped until where is it? So there was a battle around here between Valencia and Santa Fe, um, but that was where they were finally defeated, and then they wound up getting driven all the way back um, to the New Mexico territories. Okay, I'm going to try and stop that. I'm going to try and get that garrison down here to Fort Thorne if I can. It'll wind up slowing down the Confederate advance, and then hopefully I'll get the scripted reinforcements will show up soon enough to where I'll be able to hold the Confederacy right here at the border between Texas and the New Mexico territory. Okay, so next up is this frigate down here in, excuse me, in Key West. So upgrade his engines. And then I've got another gunboat or riverboat over here near Nolans. So we'll go ahead and upgrade him. And then I want to upgrade the lighthouse. That improves their spotting distance. And upgrade the one over here by Nolans at the bottom of the Mississippi River. And I believe that's it for my ships. I think I may have, yeah, I got these two guys here. So hurry these guys along, get them down to Chesapeake Bay as quick as I can. Alright, and then I think I got the Missouri units to move, and then that's going to be it. Alright, so this brigade in Cairo, because it's raining, I won't be able to move any further than just at the river. So sometimes I'm able to take this town on the first turn. Alright, so General Fremont here, put him on auto assist. For those of you that weren't with us during the last series replay, your headquarters units, they basically what they do is they help out with resupplying units out in the field. And you can set it on auto, and the computer will just automatically assign what units. There's a maximum number you can see here. Fremont can support up to 3 units. You can either set it on auto assist. Basically what that does is it'll automatically assign units, and then if it doesn't have a maximum number of units assigned, it will attempt to assist on assigned units, or you can go ahead and do it manually if you want that level of micromanagement. I have found that the computer does a pretty good job of doing this automatically. So I go ahead and I put it on auto assist, one less piece of micromanagement I got to do. Alright, so go ahead and advance those two. Now the cavalry brigade, once again, thanks to the rain, I'm not going to get far. And then I got a couple more regiments that I can use. Now this cavalry brigade. Go ahead and get him up to full strength before I advance him. Okay. I believe, nope, one more. At least he's able to occupy the mines there. So, like I said, like I said in the last episode, I have played both sides a couple of times. I've played the Union more than I've played the Confederacy, but I've played both sides at least twice. And usually it is not raining in Missouri on the first turn, but it has done it a couple of times. It's doing it this time, and that's going to slow down my advance. That is basically giving the computer a little bit of an advantage. Let me zoom the map back out, make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, so that is going to be it for tactical and operational movement this turn. So I don't have enough left to do any research and development. You can see here that the Union starts with chits in naval tactics, spying, intelligence, logistics, and industrial technology already. So they've already got 1,250 production spent to a maximum of 4,000. As I mentioned in the previous episode, I'm going to max this out as quickly as I can, with the exception of this opening turn. I want to go ahead and I want to upgrade those couple of naval units and then fully mobilize that cavalry brigade. So, all right, so that leaves me with one final thing that I would like to go over, and that is grand strategy, and I'm going to make this as quick as I can. The plan is going to be to put as much pressure as possible on Richmond and Nashville, Tennessee, and it's going to take me a while to do that. A lot of the units that I'm going to get here in the beginning of the game, let me show you, is all scripted. Okay, so I am going to get a ton of units here in the beginning of the game. A lot of naval units are going to come out, and because of where they're going to come out, like right here around Cairo, some more units are going to show up here in St. Louis. A number of units are going to deploy here on the Maryland Virginia border, and so what I'm going to be doing is, in the early part of the game, I'm just going to be doing what I can to hold northern Virginia as I build up forces, and I'm going to also have some forces that will get deployed here along the Ohio River, and I'm going to use those to advance into West Virginia at least a little bit. Um, that's really a blocking force is what that's going to be, because the computer does send a force up through Western Virginia in order to try and get at the objectives here in Western Pennsylvania and Ohio. And then basically it's going to be a race to see who can build up the largest force along the Kentucky border. And then once Kentucky joins either the Union or the Confederacy, then it's a race for Frankfort. And then whoever wins that race, hopefully it'll be me. I will begin to push down on Nashville and start putting the pressure there, while at the same time we take Missouri and then start putting pressure on the Arkansas border and working our way down the Mississippi River. Okay, but in the beginning, the first several turns, it's really going to be a stalemate as we go ahead and draw our lines along northern Virginia, West Virginia, neutral Kentucky, and then out through Missouri and the Indian Territories. Okay, so I think that covers about everything for this turn. Um, so I'll go ahead. There's some stuff I wanted to talk about General Freeman. For any of you that are familiar with General Lyons, um, he does not deploy in this game. Okay. Instead, we've got General Freeman, who basically General Freeman and General Lyons are, for the purposes of the game, they're interchangeable. Okay. Yes, Lyons was the better general, um, but the folks that developed the game, they decided they're going to leave Fremont in here. I'm not sure if that has anything to do. Um, I'm not sure if that has anything to do with what happened to Fremont um, down at where was it? The Battle of Wilson's Creek. So you folks are welcome to go ahead and look that up. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because I promised myself that I wouldn't get into the nitty gritty of the historical lessons. So, all right. So because this was a short turn, I'm just going to go ahead and advance it, and so that way we can get turn 2 out of the way also. All right, so the Confederates celebrate the secession of Arkansas, and that is the correct. That is the correct spelling with the correct pronunciation. Arkansas, named after the Arkansas tribes. All right, Confederates celebrate the secession of Tennessee. Pro-Union Missouri volunteers join Nathaniel Lyon's forces. So now Nathaniel Lyons, what he did is he took control of the arsenal, the St. Louis arsenal. He refused to allow it to fall into the hands of the secessionist supporters. They weren't Confederates yet at the time. And then he went ahead and took control of the arsenal and armed up volunteers to go ahead and march on the capital. So the Provisional Army of the Confederate States begins to organize. That winds up giving them like 3-4 units out there in the West. President Lincoln calls for Union volunteers to serve a 3-year term. And here is our ledger for next turn. So there's the importing weapons. So I'm going to lose that after a certain amount of time, that 200 plus that I'm getting. So we're going to lose that after, I think it's like September of 1861. All right, so now the Confederates are moving. And so here we've got a riverboat coming out. Basically, that's a scouting mission. Oh, great. Great Britain extends belligerent status to the Confederacy. So I had a note on that. Belligerency status. So yeah, so basically it's they're going to trade they're going to trade with the Confederacy, even though they're not specifically saying that they recognize them as a actual nation. All right, so here's some more advice. Ultimate measure of victory is our ability to take back the southern states. So I had mentioned this in the previous episode. For every state capital that the Union does not control, we're going to be losing fighting spirit. Okay, depending on which capital is going to dictate how much fighting spirit. So more advice. Okay, deploy river gunships in New York. There's a teleporter there that'll get them down to the Mississippi River. So I'll show you those when this stuff is done. All right, so some more strategic advice. Basically what you can do here, can I move that? No. So right here, this hex right here, if I move into that hex with naval units, I'm going to be given the opportunity to destroy the levees that are protecting New Orleans from the surrounding waters. And that's going to cause a lot of economic devastation. And it has a tactical advantage, but I got to be ready to move troops in. Basically it's a debuff for the defenses. And but the thing is, though, I got to be ready to do it. I got to be ready to move troops in when that happens. So it's not something that it's not a decision that I want to make lightly. Okay, so let me see. He's done upgrading. So we did a little bit of damage. I know I still have those reinforcements to deploy. Get him on his way. Alright, so where are... Here we go. Alright, so the Minnesota frigate and another brigade. And as I had mentioned earlier, I'm just going to be deploying most of the brigades down here near DC. Now I'm going to advance him to here. I don't want to advance him on the other side of the river from Harper's Ferry because I don't want the computers, Confederate forces, to see that I have him there. So I'm hoping that they will not put a defender there, and I'll take Harper's Ferry without too much trouble. Okay, so obviously the train can only move on the rail lines. In Strategic Command World War I, you were able to entrench in ACW here, American Civil War in ACW. The units just they do it automatically. They go ahead and they fortify. The longer they sit there, the better the fortifications up to whatever your fortification or entrenchment technology happens to be. Okay, so now I'm going to block Norfolk. So yeah, so now they're here blocking Norfolk. That'll cause damage to the port value here, which reduces the amount of production points the computer's getting for the Confederate side. All right, now, so he can't move yet. So now the riverboats that I upgraded here, I'm going to send them to help down in the Gulf of America. And now back over here to the west. So grab Gerardo, and then hopefully I'll get New Madrid, and then I got to get him out of there, because I know there are Confederate reinforcements moving up this way. Get Fort Davison as fast as I can. Now, force marching units in this game is just as detrimental as it was in Strategic Command World War I. But I want to get Jefferson City as fast as I can. Alright, so now I forgot to reinforce him on the first turn. So now these, let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. So these two units are not able to move yet. They're basically they're stuck there. They're surrounded by neutral territory basically, but it won't stay neutral for long. So my poor guys here, I'm going to run them half to death, getting them all the way down here to Fort Thorne. All right, have I forgotten anybody? I don't believe so. Let me zoom out again. Yep, this guy here. And I do believe that is going to be it. All right, so I've got more production points left over this turn. So now, as usual, we're going to have differences of opinion on what is most important in research and development. My opinion is that infantry equipment is one of the things that I got to hit up first. and then corps organization so that I can get infantry corps units out there as soon as possible. And then because it is, well, I don't have enough for um, to improve leadership, but that is one of the things I got to work on. I've only got enough points left here, so I'm going to put that in field telegraph. What this does is it improves the number of units that a headquarters can support, is what field telegraph, one of the things that field telegraph does. So that brings me down to 28 points left over. Not enough to do anything with, and so there we are for that turn. Um, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this episode here, but I am going to try and put out a second episode today with two more turns in it. If you've made it this far, as always, leave a like and drop a comment if you would. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with somebody you think is going to enjoy this kind of content. And thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.